Story number 1. The move to our new house was supposed to be a fresh start, a chance for our family to create happy memories together. Little did we know that lurking beneath the surface of our seemingly idyllic home was a darkness that would consume our nights and cast a shadow over our days. It all began innocently enough. A few weeks after settling in, we started hearing strange noises from the basement. At first, we dismissed them as the typical quirks of an old house settling into its new inhabitants. A subtle creak here, a distant moan there, nothing too unsettling. Yet, as the days passed, the noises grew more persistent. Late at night, when the world outside slept, the basement seemed to come alive with an eerie symphony of scraping and scratching. It was as if the very walls whispered secrets we weren't meant to hear. Unable to ignore the unnerving sounds any longer, I ventured into the basement one night. The air down there felt heavy, charged with an energy that made the hairs on my arms stand on end. The dim light struggled to pierce the darkness, creating pockets of shadow that seemed to dance with malicious intent. As I tiptoed through the cold, concrete-floored space, my senses heightened. The source of the noise eluded me until I stumbled upon a door hidden in a dark corner. It seemed out of place, as if deliberately concealed from prying eyes. With a trembling hand, I turned the rusty knob. The door groaned open, revealing a narrow passage that led to an unexpected room. The air inside was stagnant, and the stifling silence weighed on me as my flashlight revealed the room's peculiar contents. The walls were covered in drawings, grotesque and unsettling images that sent chills down my spine. Distorted figures, twisted faces, and scenes of violence adorned every inch of the room. The crude sketches seemed to pulsate with a malevolent energy, as if the troubled artist had poured their torment into every stroke. I felt a growing unease as I realized we weren't alone in this house. The walls held the haunting imprints of a tormented soul, and we were now unwitting witnesses to their agony. The drawings seemed to shift and morph as if the room itself breathed with a life of its own. Upstairs, I gathered my family to share the unsettling discovery. Their faces mirrored my shock as we confronted the disturbing truth. The drawings had seeped beyond the basement, spreading like a dark stain through the very fabric of our new home. From that moment on, our lives spiraled into a nightmare. Every night, the basement noises intensified, echoing through the house like a relentless drumbeat. We tried to seal the door, to paint over the drawings, but the sinister whispers persisted, as if the room demanded acknowledgement. Tension permeated our home, tearing at the seams of our sanity. Shadows danced in the corners of our vision, and the walls seemed to close in, trapping us in a suffocating embrace. Family dinners became silent affairs, haunted by the eerie presence lingering in the background. As the days stretched into an unending ordeal, we started seeing figures in the dark corners of the house, distorted shapes with hollow eyes that stared back at us. The once familiar walls became oppressive, as if concealing a malevolent force determined to drive us to madness. Desperation led us back to the basement. The drawings had multiplied, taking on a life of their own. It was as if the tormented artist had found a way to reach into our reality, merging nightmares with waking life. The air grew thick with a malevolent force as we confronted the room. The drawings writhed on the walls, mocking our futile attempts to escape their influence. We were trapped in a nightmare not of our making. In the final act of desperation, we decided to leave the accursed house. But as we packed our belongings, the drawings followed us, clinging to the very fabric of our existence. The whispers grew louder, weaving tales of despair and madness. Story number 2. My heart raced as I turned the rusty key in the basement door. It groaned open, revealing a darkness that swallowed any hint of light. I flicked the switch, and a dim bulb struggled to banish the shadows. Curiosity pulled me toward a corner, where an old wooden door stood, barely noticeable. Cobwebs clung to its frame like haunted memories. The key felt heavy in my hand as I slid it into the lock, creaking open secrets buried for years. Behind the door, a narrow tunnel greeted me. The air was damp, and a cold draft whispered through unseen cracks. My flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing an underground labyrinth. My steps echoed, creating an eerie symphony with the drip-drop of unseen water. I stumbled upon a room, walls adorned with photos, faces of people, their eyes pleading from faded prints. Panic tingled my spine. Were they the victims? Fear seeped in as I found handwritten notes, detailing plans and names that sent shivers down my spine. The room whispered of a sinister operation. Dread pressed against my chest, but curiosity propelled me forward. The tunnel seemed endless, twisting and turning like a nightmare I couldn't escape. My senses heightened, every sound amplifying my unease. Footsteps, distant and muffled, echoed through the tunnels like a sinister heartbeat. My breath caught as I stumbled upon a chamber. Metal rings bolted into the walls, chains hanging ominously. It hit me. This was where they kept them. The kidnapped. My eyes widened as I saw remnants of torn clothing, a desperate struggle etched into the stone floor. The air grew thick with dread as I pressed on. The tunnel unveiled more secrets, each step intensifying the knot in my stomach. My flashlight flickered, threatening to plunge me into the abyss. I shuddered at the thought of being lost in this subterranean nightmare. A distant sound, a low hum, reverberated through the tunnels. Panic surged. I strained my ears, realizing it was not just a hum, but muffled voices. The kidnappers, still lurking in these depths. Fear wrapped around me like a suffocating cloak. As I crept closer, I overheard their sinister conversation. Plans, strategies, and a disturbing enthusiasm for their heinous deeds. The weight of discovery pressed on my shoulders. My only defense was the silence that shielded my presence. I found a junction in the tunnels, and dread deepened as I faced a choice. One path led to the exit, the other deeper into the unknown. My mind wrestled with the decision: escape or confront the unseen evil. The distant voices reminded me that time was not my ally. Against the pounding of my heart, I chose the ominous path. The tunnels twisted into a maze, each turn a gamble with my fate. The air grew colder, and the walls seemed to close in. The murmur of voices intensified, guiding me deeper into their lair. A flicker of light ahead revealed the kidnappers, huddled in a makeshift command center. My breath hitched as I saw their faces, shrouded in darkness. I cowered behind a rock, listening to their vile plans. Rescue was my mission now, but the odds were stacked against me. A stray pebble betrayed me, clattering against the tunnel floor. The kidnappers fell silent. Fear gripped me as their eyes scanned the shadows, piercing through the darkness like predators sensing prey. I held my breath, praying to become invisible. The tension swirled in the air, seconds stretching like hours. A sigh of relief escaped as they dismissed the noise, returning to their sinister plotting. I retraced my steps, determination replacing fear. The exit was my goal now. The labyrinth seemed more treacherous, shadows conspiring against my escape. Each creak and whisper magnified my vulnerability. Story number 3. The air in the basement was thick, and the old wooden steps creaked beneath our hesitant footsteps. The musty smell hit us as we descended into the dimly lit space. There, at the far end, stood the locked cellar door we had noticed earlier, whispering stories of secrets. Curiosity and an adventurous itch led us to that door. Our fingers fumbled with the rusty lock, and after a collective effort, the door swung open, revealing a pitch-black room. We flicked on our phone flashlights, revealing a forgotten chamber filled with dusty relics and eerie silence. The air seemed to grow heavier as our beams of light danced across the room. Shadows clung to the walls like ghosts of the past. In the corner, a wooden chair lay overturned, and the atmosphere hinted at a history of something gone terribly wrong. As our light scanned the room, we stumbled upon a worn-out journal lying on the floor. Its pages spoke of a descent into madness, the ink forming twisted tales of paranoia and fear. The words clawed at our minds, leaving us uneasy, trapped in a story not meant for the living. Among the artifacts, we found unsettling drawings, distorted faces with hollow eyes and twisted smiles. The artist's mind had unraveled, and the sketches mirrored a descent into a darkness we couldn't comprehend. The room whispered the tragic tale of its past tenant. A wooden cabinet in the corner beckoned us with a creak. Hesitant fingers pulled it open, revealing a collection of worn photographs. Faces stared back at us, faces twisted in agony, etched with the pain of forgotten torment. We recoiled, the images searing into our minds. The room seemed to close in on us as we delved further into the forgotten history. A flickering bulb overhead cast dancing shadows on the cracked walls. Every creak, every sound, sent shivers down our spines, as if the room itself held on to the echoes of the past. In the center of the room, a decaying bed stood as the relic of countless sleepless nights. The mattress sagged under the weight of forgotten nightmares. We couldn't shake the feeling that eyes, unseen and unfriendly, watched us from the shadows. As we examined a broken mirror, our reflections distorted into grotesque images, mirroring the fractured mind of the room's previous occupant. The air felt charged, as if the despair and madness had seeped into the very essence of the space. The journal, now clutched in my trembling hands, unveiled a tale of paranoia, whispers in the dark, and an overwhelming fear that consumed the writer. The words painted a picture of a person unraveling, desperately trying to escape the horrors that lurked within their own mind. A sudden gust of wind extinguished our flashlights, plunging us into darkness. Panic seized us, and in the void, we heard faint whispers, voices tainted by despair, begging to be heard. We fumbled for our phones, the feeble light revealing the room in disarray. The shadows seemed to move, closing in on us. The air turned icy, and a feeling of being watched intensified. Our breaths caught in our throats as the room pulsated with an otherworldly energy. The past had awakened, and we were mere intruders in its haunted sanctuary. In a corner, we discovered a hidden trapdoor, a portal to the secrets buried beneath the basement's surface. With trepidation, we opened it, revealing a narrow staircase leading even deeper into the abyss. The whispers grew louder, urging us to descend into the heart of the darkness. As we reached the bottom, the air became suffocating, and the whispers transformed into anguished cries. Shadows danced on the walls, and the chilling presence of the past enveloped us. We stood in a chamber of forgotten horrors, the walls bearing witness to the descent into madness that echoed through time. With each step, the darkness embraced us, and the cries became a symphony of torment. The room pulsated with a malevolent force, demanding acknowledgement of the pain etched into its very foundation. We were trapped in a nightmare, entangled in the web of a history we could not escape. In the heart of the abyss, we uncovered a decaying figure, the remnants of the one who had succumbed to the darkness. Hollow eyes stared into eternity, and a skeletal hand pointed accusingly at us. The room trembled, and the cries reached a deafening crescendo.